Hello and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Seth Foreman. I'm the president at Social Suite ESG. We're today's sponsor, and along with the OTC Markets Group, we're very pleased to have you join us for our next live presentation from White Rock Minerals. Before I introduce our speaker, a few housekeeping notes. Please submit your questions in the question box to the left of the slides. If you're interested in scheduling a meeting with White Rock Minerals, please click on the Meetings tab found on the left navigation bar. You'll be able to view the company's availability and submit a meeting request there. On a final note, all of today's presentations will be recorded and available for a 24/7 replay. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Matt Gill, Managing Director and CEO of White Rock Minerals, which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol WRMCF and on the ASX under the symbol WRM. Let's welcome Matt. Thank you.
Thanks, Seth, for that introduction. And I'd like to thank the team at OTC for making this possible. I'm talking to you from Great Gold Mining Centre on the other side of the world in Ballarat, Victoria, Australia. As the slide says that you can see there, we're aiming to be Victoria's next high-grade gold producer, a bit of a big claim, and hopefully by the end of the presentation you'll get a feel for why we say that. White Rock Minerals, as mentioned, is listed on the ASX, but also cross-listed on the OTC. We have two other assets, one in New South Wales and one in Alaska. And the Alaskan asset is one of the reasons that we got the cross-listing on the OTC, is to open up for those interested investors in North America in particular. As Seth said, you will find this presentation available to you on this platform, but you will also find it on the White Rock website. With that in mind, I'm not going to read every slide and every word on every slide. You can read that at your leisure. But as ASX listed, then there will be no apologies for making forward-looking statements, as we are a small junior and we do look forward. In a nutshell, what is White Rock Minerals? We are a three-asset company. The most recent project in our stable is the Woods Point Gold Project here in Victoria. It's had a great gold mining history. It's a significant land package. And Victoria is going through a bit of a gold renaissance thanks to the very successful Fosterville gold mine, now owned by Agnico Eagle, that I'm sure many people have heard of. We also have a very large land package in central Alaska, Red Mountain. It's both silver, zinc, but also significant gold prospectivity. And our founding asset, Mount Carrington in New South Wales. I will talk mainly about Woods Point, a little bit about Red Mountain, and unfortunately in the time frame, not so much on Mount Carrington. Suffice to say, with Mount Carrington, it's on mining lease. It's got a feasibility study, JORC resources, and we're in an exploration earn-in joint venture with another ASX listed company, where White Rock is free carried. So our three projects, as I mentioned, two in Australia and one in Alaska. And I was just speaking earlier, it's after midnight here in Victoria, and for those in New York, of course, it's mid-morning. Time zones are a wonderful thing. The interesting thing with Alaska is it's so far around the world, there is only a 6-hour time difference, and gives us a great overlap opportunity. So it's not as hard as people think having a project in Alaska when we're domiciled here in Australia. And as I mentioned, Mount Carrington, and more recently the acquisition of Woods Point. So a question I'm sure the listener should ask themselves, and I'm sure the listener has a smorgasbord of opportunities. Why invest in White Rock? Now, clearly what I'm about to give is not investment advice. You need to do your own research. But, the de-risk nature of the White Rock story, I think, is fairly important in the fact that we are in three jurisdictions, all first world, English speaking, follow the rule of law, but also in three significant commodities, gold, silver, and in base metal zinc. And in fact, recently zinc was declared a critical metal by the US government. And we all know the benefits of having gold in anyone's portfolio. And certainly in times like this, wars, inflation, and that sort of risk profile. Mentioned Victoria, USA, and New South Wales. So the three assets, Red Mountain, our Alaskan asset, we'll touch a bit on that. Significant JORC resources, over 1.8 billion pounds of zinc, significant silver and gold in its own right. Mount Carrington, I touched on in New South Wales, JORC resources, feasibility study. And there's also a JORC gold reserve on two of those gold deposits. And the Woods Point Gold Project that we acquired in August last year. So good jurisdictions, good commodity base. Now we'll do a bit of a dive into each of those assets. Before we do that, value. There has to be value on the table for an investor, I think, to see an opportunity. And here's a table of valuations, independent valuations done by others, arm's length. Probably the most internationally recognised is Valmin. That's the International Valuation of Mineral Property, similar to JORC code. But there's also two other groups, Fundamental Research, Canada's largest independent research house out of Vancouver, and also Henslow, which are known around the world and have an office here in Melbourne. So you can see some of the valuations, independent valuations given on each of our assets. And the average of those, when you compare to our market cap, there's a big difference. Now, I'm not the last managing director that you'll hear say that we're undervalued. My comment would be, even if these valuations are half right, I think there's still a significant gap between the valuation of the assets and our market cap. Now, that's both a frustration and certainly to a lot of existing shareholders, but I think it's also therein lies the opportunity. And one of the key motivators for myself and the board is to try and unlock some of this value that you can see and get that reflected in our share price for the benefit of our shareholders. And that's a real challenge. It's always a challenge for juniors, but that's what motivates us in part to advance those assets, get the market to recognise what we've got, and hopefully see the potential in those assets going forward. Bit on the capital structure, 170 million shares, very little debt, cash on hand back in March of 3 million. Small board, good size board for a junior, 3. Important again for a shareholder to consider who else has invested in the company, who else has done their research, who else has put their money into the company in expectation of improvements and opportunity. So you can see that we've got quite a few nominee holdings, but our largest shareholder is Crescat Capital, precious metals fund based out of Denver, so US based. A number of nominees. In those nominees, there are some Swiss gold funds. There's a Hong Kong fund. There's a New York fund. And we've also got a couple of high net worths here in Australia. So not a bad register for a small junior, a mix of institutional and retail, and you need both. Again, a lot of those have done their work, done their homework, done the due diligence, and see what we can see and the opportunity to try and get some of that value that we see in those assets into our share price. So what are those assets? Well, the first one, Woods Point. So here in Victoria, significant history, comes with infrastructure. That photo shows the headframe shaft and the gold processing plant already built. So we don't run the risk when we restart this mine of some of the supply issues brought on by COVID. We don't run any of the risk with permitting. It's already on a mining lease. So we've got a fantastic head start. As I mentioned, Victoria is going through a second renaissance thanks to Fosterville, one of the world's richest gold mines. Victoria has had a proud history of gold mining. Started here in the 1800s in Ballarat, where I live, with many other gold mines in the area. In fact, 2 of the top 10 gold mines by grade in the world are in Victoria, in Fosterville and Costerfield. There are other notable gold mines as well. And we're about to join those ranks. That's the immediate objective of White Rock, and I'll touch on that just now. So where are we? So White Rock acquired this asset in August last year. We've been drilling since then. We've done over 10,000 metres of drilling. We've identified at least 5 mining areas in the existing mine. So notwithstanding the fact that the Morningstar gold mine produced over 800,000 ounces at 26 grams a tonne, and the old timers did a fantastic job, with drilling and modelling, we've been able to find at least 5 areas, and we believe there will be plenty more there. So great asset to have. But we also picked up in this acquisition a 660 square kilometre land package, underexplored, and with lots of potential targets there as well. And we see that as equally exciting as getting the mine up and going. So the mine, Morningstar, as I mentioned, it's got a great production history. Infrastructure already in place, as I touched on, including an 800-metre deep shaft and a gravity gold processing plant. We've been drilling, as I mentioned, and finding areas that haven't been mined. There's also an area below 9 level and above 14 level called the gap zone, and it is called that for a reason. There's a gap. Very little drilling, and we've been drilling in there as well with some fantastic results to date, including, for instance, 0.4 metres at over 700 grams a tonne gold, or equivalent to about 20 ounces a tonne. So that's the mine, simply put. What we see are 3 key areas. There's the area that we call Dickinson South, essentially between surface and 6 level. There's an area between that and 9 level around the Kenny's McNally's area. And then there's the gap zone that I mentioned between 9 level and 14 level. And the dike system keeps on going. It is open at depth, but we're just focusing above 9 level. The shaft is currently flooded below 10 level. We keep that dewatered. When the time comes, we'll just increase that dewatering rate to advance as we go vertically. But at the minute, plenty of opportunities above 9 level. And that's our drilling. We drilled the Dickinson area from surface. That's that photo on the top right. And we are still drilling from underground, and that's that photo on the bottom right. I'm not going to read all of those intersections, but you can get a feel for the widths, not particularly wide, 1 to 2 metres, but the grades are significant. 1, 2, 3 ounces a tonne. And we've got 2 areas already identified, and we've already started accessing those. Our objective is to become a gold producer in the next couple of months. So as we speak, we've got about 30 people on site. 5 of those are geologists. We've got air leg mining capability, so narrow vein underground mining. So the trick here is to preserve the value of the rock with the gold, not to dilute it with a lot of waste rock. So while they are narrow intersections, the metal endowment is significant. Those grades are significant, as you can see. So they're just some of our results from drilling in the Dickinson area. But we've also been drilling in the Kenny's McNally's area, and you can see again, 1/2 to 2 metres wide, over 1, 2, 3 ounces a tonne. So the trick is narrow vein, underground mining, not bulk mining. We go for quality over quantity. And then we have this gap zone, a quirk of history. Above the gap zone, 500,000 ounces had been produced, and we found 5 areas still that we can be mining there, as I've just mentioned. And below 14 level, 300,000 ounces have been produced. But in the middle, very little drilling, and that's what we've been also focusing on since we acquired the asset in August last year. And some of the holes that we've been drilling have been successful in defining the structure in our first pass drilling, but some of them have hit some exceptional gold grades. 740 grams a tonne, you can see, and only this week we announced a 900 gram per tonne intersection in the gap zone. So for a first pass drilling program in an area that is 200 metres vertically by 600 metres horizontally and by about 60 metres wide, so you can hide a lot of gold in there, we're very pleased with that first pass drilling, both because we're identifying structures, and we need to have structures before you've got gold, but also some of those structures yielding some terrific gold grades. So that's, again, the section where we're looking to work. We're Dickinson's Reef on 4 level, advancing that as we speak. Exhibition Reef will be accessed off that drive. We're preparing for that. Stackpool Reef planning underway, and McNally Reef, we're already back in and mining. So we're all gearing up to start producing gold in the next couple of months. The plant's ready to go. In fact, I was on site last week where we restarted it for the first time in a year, putting waste rock through it. So pre-commissioning, all things going well. As I mentioned, shaft, head frame, winder there, team of 30 already on site. So it's a fast track to being a producer for White Rock. We don't have to go through the lengthy delays and risks of permitting. The construction risks are behind us. It's already built. It's already been commissioned. And so we're ready to go as the miners do their thing underground, building up ROM stocks before we get going. But we also see significant, in fact, equal excitement in the regional tenement package. 660 square kilometres. You can see that there are 73 mineral occurrences with grades over 10 grams a tonne in our tenement package, of which 22 mineral occurrences were greater than 2 ounces a tonne. It's been held by a lot of explorers over time, normally haven't had the time or the balance sheet to do a decent, strategic, patient exploration program. So we see this as the opportunity as well. And any exploration success that we do have, we can monetize by putting it through the plant at Morningstar. So again, a significant advancement on many juniors that might have great land packages, might make discoveries, but then they're left with the question, how do they convert that into success, into bullion? Well, we've got the answer already. We've got a mining lease with a processing plant. So we see great opportunities there. Again, you can see some of the historical mines, all grades normally above 10 ounces a tonne by the old timers. And our first target is this Wallaby target. It is a lookalike, we believe, to the current Morningstar mine. The old timers went down 100 metres and hit the water table and stopped. So we see great opportunities here, and we're working with the stakeholders and the government to get permitting achieved so that we can drill this in 2023. Then we've got Red Mountain, very imaginatively named by the geologists. It's a red mountain, great big iron-stained gossan in Alaska. We're in Alaska. We're 100 kilometres due south of Fairbanks. It's a half-hour chopper or Cessna flight. We're ringed on 3 sides by road. We're only 30 to 40 kilometres from the Parks Highway. For those that know Alaska, the Parks Highway links the largest city in Alaska of Anchorage with Fairbanks. It's got the rail. It's got a significant JORC resource, tier 1 grades over 8% zinc equivalent or 300 grams a tonne silver equivalent, over 20 million tonnes, significant endowment. When we acquired it, it was only 16 square kilometres. It's now out to over 800 square kilometres. We've taken a district scale strategic land position here. VMSs do come in camps, do come in clusters. And so we've deliberately taken out a land package because of the prospectivity, not just of the 2 JORC deposits that make up that resource, but also the many targets that we've identified from our geophysics and our geochemistry yet to be drilled. So there's a zoom in of the land package. So to the east, to the right there, you can see the VMS horizons that include the Dry Creek and WTF deposits that make up the JORC resource. You can see a ring of axe picks below that. There's a Kiwi trend, significant VMS horizon, which you've only poked a few holes into. Then out to the west, out to the left, again, more VMS horizons. None of those have had any drilling done on them. And then in 2020, we discovered this Last Chance, very large intrusive related gold system, gold target called Last Chance. And that was a focus of drilling back in 2020. Our challenge, and a bit frustrating, is that we've got more drill targets than we have the time or the current capacity to drill. But the targets are there, the prospectivity is there, and we're certainly looking at ways to get there and drill. We've had 4 seasons to date in Alaska. As I mentioned, when we first acquired it, it was only 15 square kilometres. It's now out to over 800 square kilometres. And this is an example of some of the opportunities that come with a VMS land package. This Kiwi trend has thrown up, for instance, this Kiwi prospect. Float rocks on the surface running 16% copper, zinc. You can see the grades there. There's a drill pad there. It's ready to be drilled. You can see a photo of some of the rocks. So fantastic prospectivity. And I should have mentioned, Alaska is in the top 5 jurisdictions in the world, thanks to the Fraser Institute survey. and we've had fantastic cooperation and support in Alaska in terms of permitting and being able to drill. This gold target, the last chance gold target, so we're blessed with two geological type domains. We've got the VMS horizons, but we've also got the large intrusive gold system. It sits in the Tintina Gold Belt, which you can see is home to some great mines that many people have heard of: Pogo, Fort Knox, run by Kinross, and Donlin, which is a Barrick joint venture. So we've got great prospectivity between these two assets, the VMS and the gold. The gold, last chance, over 15 square kilometres, over 2,000 samples. As a mining engineer, I tell people this gold's got to come from somewhere. We just have to find where it came from. So significant opportunities there as well. And earlier this year, we picked up this asset, the White Gold Project. It's not contiguous with Red Mountain. It's about 150 kilometres to the southeast, but you can see some of the exploration results that came with this. 18 metres at 9 grams a tonne, 19 metres at 4. You can see some of the grades, 8 prospects in total. So the Alaskan asset has significant VMS and gold potential. So in rounding out the presentation, as I mentioned, 3 commodities, 3 jurisdictions. I think that's an important de-risking component. The Woods Point Gold Project, both we're about to become a producer, but we've also got significant in-mine and regional exploration opportunities. The VMS, Red Mountain, both silver, zinc, gold, last chance gold. We're cornerstoned by the Mount Carrington asset here in New South Wales with the resources, reserve, mining lease, feasibility study where we're free carried in an exploration JV. I think that jurisdiction diversification is really important. There are many places in the world where you don't really want to wake up in the morning and find out that something's happened to your tenements, either at the social level or at the government level. And also, I think, and I won't be the last to say, a board that's got good breadth and depth of experience. So that's my presentation, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. As I mentioned, you can find this on our website. Now, I do have some questions, and so I'll go into some Q&A. So there's a question, which is a very good question. What are the catalysts for a revaluation of White Rock? So that the markets currently are pretty tough. I think most people would understand that. The concerns about inflation, COVID comes and goes. The impacts of the war in Russia, Ukraine. So it's hard sometimes for a junior to get the recognition it deserves when there are macro factors going on. But I would think, and I would like to think, that a significant re-rating catalyst would be becoming a gold producer. On the ASX, there are about 800 juniors, and I think the last statistic I heard there was less than 40 producers. So to graduate, if you want to use that term, from explorer to producer, I think is a significant step for any company, and we're very excited about that. So I think that would be a significant re-rating for the company. Also, I think if we're able to do something in Alaska, now whether that's another field season ourselves, or, and we are in the process, whether there's a joint venture opportunity, or even whether we look to spin that out. So I think that would be another opportunity to unlock some of the value within White Rock by freeing up the Alaskan asset within our stable. Another question is, what are your key takeaways from the recent Morningstar drill results? That's a very good question. So we've got two sets of results. We've got a lot of results from our drilling above 9 level. So the Dickinson South, the Kennys, the Whitelaws area. And those results have been exceptional in our opinion. 500,000 ounces came from that part of the mine. And many pundits have said, the old-timers got it all. You're wasting your time. You will never find anything. You'll never make a go of it. Well, we found 5 areas above 9 level that the old-timers didn't get. We've done our own internal leapfrog modelling from the significant results, and I've showed you some of those. And we've formed the view and the confidence, and we've started developing onto 2 of those already. So that's a takeaway from the drilling above 9 level. The drilling below 9 level into the gap zone, a 200-metre vertical section, 600 metres horizontally, 60 metres wide. That's a lot of rock. We've done a couple of thousand metres into the gap zone across that 600 metres length. Our takeaways, firstly, we've identified up to 10 structures, and you need structure, otherwise there won't be any gold. Not to say that a structure will have gold in it, but you need to have structure first, and we've identified up to 10 structures. And as I mentioned, we've had a couple of hits already, 700, 900 grams a tonne. So for a first pass drill program into the gap zone, very, very confident, very happy with that. And we're now waiting for the remaining assays. There's still 8 holes that we haven't got assays for. And we'll then do the geological interp modelling, and we'll plan our second phase, which will be a tighter amount of drilling into the key areas. And a question, can I speak to the management team behind White Rock? Yeah, very good question. So it's a board of 3, myself as a mining engineer, been White Rock for 6 years, when it was just Mount Carrington. The other 2 directors, one's a metallurgist by training, but he'd been in the capital markets, analyst, Peter Mangano, excuse me, and the third one, non-exec director, is more in the IT HR space, major shareholder in Paul McNally, but a great ability to see and cut through a lot of the technical issues that sometimes us mining engineers and geologists challenge. Underneath that, we've got a CFO in Tony Griffith. We've got a company secretary, commercial manager, Shane. Both Shane and Tony are based here in Ballarat with myself. We have a team of 30 on site at Woods Point, a mining engineer, general manager. We've got 5 geologists. We've just about to recruit a metallurgist there. So a great team on site. But we also have Dr. Quinton Hennig as our technical advisor. Now, Quinton, many people may know, is chairman of Novo Resources, which I believe presented Mike Spreadborough, my mate, presented just before me. Quinton's on many boards. He advises Crescat. Crescat are our major shareholder, and Quinton's been terrific for myself and the team, not just for his ability to, again, simplify sometimes what geologists make fairly complicated, but also to open up the capital markets to us. So Quinton makes up a very important part of our team as a technical advisor. And look, ladies and gentlemen, with that, I will finish. Thanks for the time. Thanks for your interest. You can see the details there. More than happy to answer any questions. You've got the details there. You can find our presentation here. There's much more information on our website. I encourage you to go and have a look at that. Thanks very much.